Hello, this is Jeff with Champion Fitness. Today we want to talk to you about treadmills and just some of the comparisons. We get a lot of people coming into our stores saying they saw a cheap treadmill at a big box store, Costco or Big Five or Sports Authority or Sports Chalet, wherever it is, and on the box it'll say commercial treadmill, lifetime frame. It'll have all these buzzwords that are great marketing tools, but in reality, once they get the treadmill home or the piece of equipment home, they have little to no warranty and they end up breaking within the first year, hands down, or having issues. I wanted to show you a little bit on this particular treadmill what to look for when shopping for a treadmill. Obviously this is a fold-up treadmill or a space-saving treadmill. As you can see, the locking mechanism is not that sturdy, so if you've got small children, they might come over here and crank on this and play with this mechanism here. The other thing nowadays, a lot of treadmills will actually have a soft drop system that allow this so it doesn't just free fall. So if a child does get stuck behind it, it's not going to fall on them. So as you can see, that sucker is just going to crunch down and fall straight to the floor. Another thing when shopping for a treadmill, a lot of times you're going to get sold on shock absorption. You're going to need a treadmill that's going to absorb the shock. Treadmills with shock absorption is very important, but to have something that has too much absorption or too much bounce, and as you see on this one, it's got a lot of bounce. So you're going to want to get something that actually absorbs and dissipates the shock, the foot plant. When you're running, you want something that's going to be solid but absorb, and then you want a solid push-off, and as you can see, this whole thing wants to bounce and move. So the other thing in looking for a solid treadmill is one that's going to actually weigh something and actually outweigh you as a user, so when you're running on this, it's not going to be shaking back and forth. As you can see, when I put my right foot down, this deck is going to dive down to the right, and it's going to change my natural motion because now it's a very unstable surface. When I go with my left foot plant down, the whole deck's going to pivot and go to the left, and so it's a very unstable surface, and therefore it's not. It could cause injuries. It could cause knee and ankle strains and stress, and so you're going to want to find something that has a very solid deck that's been pinned, but also absorbs and dissipates. On less expensive treadmills, you'll also find cheaper components. These treadmills can range from a couple $100s, and nowadays some of them are starting to get up into $1,000 plus. But what you're getting is they're putting a lot of fluff, bells and whistles, that you can do things online, you can do this, you can plug your treadmill in, you've got all this excitement, but really, when it comes down to it, the important things of a treadmill are the motor, the elevation motor, the lower board, the upper board, the belt, the deck, how all those systems work together. As you start to look and find out, you'll see motor sizes make a big difference, RPMs, how the belt and deck, this particular inexpensive treadmill here, a lot of them will use, instead of a wax impregnated deck that reduces friction, they actually put a little screen. I don't know if you can see this little Nylar screen here. That is their resistance mechanism that allows the machine to not build up heat. But what we've seen in these lower end treadmills is that screen will rip off, the belt starts to eat away the deck, and you're going to have issues. A lot of times at that point, once the RPMs, the watts go up, it starts to draw a lot more amps, a lot more heat, your lower board's going to pop, your motor's going to burn out, and so you're going to then start having a lot of issues. That's why we see within about 6 months to a year, a lot of these treadmills having a lot of issues. What you're going to want to find is, in searching for treadmills, you're going to want to find a motor that has a large body CAN motor that runs at a cool 3,500 RPMs, give or take, right in there, versus 7,000 to 8,000, 9,000 RPMs like some of these cheaper models. You're going to want to find a flywheel that actually carries some weight that builds up that inertia that's going to move that belt really smooth. So as you start running in your heel strikes, you're not going to have that stopping, that pause motion, and it's going to foul up your whole running motion. The other thing that you want to look for is the rollers, front and back rollers. You're going to want to find the larger the roller, the more surface area to grab that belt, and therefore you're not going to have slippage of belt. It's going to take it easier on your belt. A smaller roller is going to cut that belt a little bit tighter, and therefore it's going to wear your belt out sooner. And the rollers, if they've got some weight, like some of these manufacturers, they actually use weighted rollers that also act as a flywheel, and will also keep that whole motion, that running motion, very smooth, so that belt is never going to pause, so it feels like more of a natural outside running feel. And then with the, as we covered a little bit with the deck, you're going to want to find a deck that's 3/4 inch, 1 inch thick deck that's been pinned and has the shock absorbers built into it to dissipate, not something that's going to bounce and rebound all that energy right back up into your joints. This also, you're going to find some of these treadmills are going to have a lot of different bells and whistles or things that might perk your interest. Like this particular one has a aromatherapy fan. You know, it's a fan. Let's just call it what it is. The fans aren't really going to blow much. I mean, this comes down to really any manufacturer, but anytime you start putting on fans and internet capabilities and all these buttons and features, you're going to start taking away or adding to the cost of the machine. And so to continue to maintain a low and cheap price, you've got to now cheapen up the important parts of the treadmill: the motor, the lower board, the upper board, the belt, the deck. And so therefore, that's why you have such problems with lower end treadmills. If you have any other questions, come into our store, talk to us, give us a call, or check us out online at championfitnessusa.com.